Hello, Hockey World. Are we live? Yeah, we are.
We're live. Yes.
I'm so much shorter than you. Let's see.
I know. When it goes to 3, I have to.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. I was giving the nice. I'm at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, so
I thought you were sitting on like one of those cushy chairs that you fell off of the one time.
Right. No. It's kind of cool because I mean, it's not cool that I have to be at the Children's Hospital for the next month with my son every day, but while he's recovering. But it is fun that they were nice enough. They're fans of the HockeyBuzzcast. They got me a room that I can do the podcast from. So
that is nice.
Which is really great. Good internet and this lovely map of the city behind me here. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. So I'm definitely easy to get some work done here. So yeah. What do you guys have going on?
Go ahead, Russ.
Well, let's talk a little baseball. There was a trade. I mean, I don't even know if it's worth mentioning all the players in the trade, but the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts, one of the best players in baseball. They're a big market team. They decided they didn't want to pay him. Now, the rumor is he wanted 12 years, $420. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know that at all. And Red Sox fans act as if they know for sure. Now, the Red Sox offered 10 years, $300. They knew that wasn't going to get it done.
Yeah, that was the Bryce Harper contract.
Right, but they knew that would not get it done, right? So my big problem here is you've got $90 million you wasted on Pablo Sandoval. You have $217 now, of course, they got out of some of that you wasted on David Price. Like, they've had so many wasteful contracts that actually, when it came time for your best player, a star player, to get paid, you traded him. And his lifetime WAR is actually higher than Babe Ruth. So Red Sox fans are pointing to that and saying, we traded Babe Ruth once. This could be a monumental disaster.
Well, okay. First of all, it was going down this road. This has been rumored for a couple months, but it was going down this road when they fired Dombrowski. When they fired Dombrowski, you knew that there was going to be a massive reorganization. Plus, they signed all second half of last season. It sounded like they wanted to do what the Yankees did, but what the Yankees did was they knocked down payroll to get underneath the luxury tax, and then went this time went out and spent big on Garrett Cole. Now, there's a difference here. The Yankees did it the way most teams can't do it. They sort of reset or rebuilt on the fly, and were able to, brought up young kids from their organization, and then added free agents, and were spending money on players that they had assigned previously. So they had to soak up that money, like guys like our favorite Jacoby Ellsbury. But the Red Sox, they were contenders. They won the World Series, and now they're saying, okay, we're going to take a step back after one bad year where everybody got hurt, where the great left-handed pitcher, Chris Sale, where he got hurt, where Price has never earned that money on that contract. They spent stupidly on a number of different levels in a number of different places. They signed Eovaldi. Their spending was stupid. And now the escape out of it was to dump $43 million in payroll to dump it out for a couple prospects. This is going to be a bad year for that organization.
A bad year. It might be a bad 5 years. This is the delusion that the Red Sox fans are under. Well, we don't want to pay the money. I get it. They're going to reset. It's going to be a year or two. But you pointed out to me they're not loaded with prospects. No. So this could be a lot more than a year or two. They haven't had any luck lately signing free agents.
Right.
So if you don't have luck signing free agents, you don't have a good system, you could turn into a 4 or 5 year project very easy in baseball. Right. Here's the part that I'm mad about. And I'm mad for Red Sox fans, which I truly don't care about. But I'm just saying, because in 75, I liked him. There were a couple times I liked him right up until about 86. And then, of course,
I liked him in 86.
Yeah. But the idea is because they used to go against the Yankees, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like some of their players. But at the end of the day, they made record profits of $517 million last year. So now they're not going to replace that money. They're going to make more money on these fans. And
what they're going to do is they're going to wait a year, get under the thing, and then spend. And Mark in the chat, he's right. Verdugo is more than a prospect. He's a really good prospect.
Even a really good prospect is not going to be one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best guys in the game.
No, what this is, and if you want to take it as an example going forward with in the say the NHL, it's any player that's got a year left in the contract that teams know. This is what the Islanders should have done the year before Tavares went to free agency. If they knew that they were going to sign him, they knew they weren't going to spend the money to sign him, then you trade him and you get as much for him.
Right, that's what I was saying to you offline. Like, why didn't they do that? Here's some more things, though, and then we'll go on to one other thing. The last thing on this is, so now they've got the fans behind them, like Mookie Betts is greedy, whatever. Who are you replacing him with?
Well,
who are you replacing any of these guys with now that you're shedding and guys have gotten older? Like, this is not like easy to do.
I hate the Red Sox with the heat of 1,000 suns, but I'll just say this: they have a lot of talent. Devers, Benintendi, oh God, I mean Jackie
pitching talent, Mike.
Jackie Bradley Jr. is more of a defensive guy.
How much pitching talent, Mike?
No, not a lot.
Not much.
No, not a lot. So, and they have a really good shortstop, but they have holes now, and they're not going to fill them this year. They've basically surrendered the AL East to the Yankees, which I think they probably would have done anyway because the Yankees are top heavy this year. But let's talk about the other thing, the hat that you're wearing, and what happened with the ownership yesterday.
Well, so Steve Cohen, no relation, although I wish there were. I wish there were. No offense to my dad. But he backed out of the Mets deal. Now,
is it official?
It's official. The Mets did put out a statement after Ken Rosenthal broke it, after even I texted you and said, it seems unofficial, but
yeah, but that statement was like, we can't comment because of a mutual agreement of non-disclosure. It wasn't.
Well, but that's basically saying that, Cohen did say, he came out and said that their deal, just like I think they added on some things at the end that he didn't like.
Sure.
Something happened in the deal he didn't like. I don't remember the exact quote, but and there is somebody I know who covers the Mets that still thinks there's an outside chance that this still occurs. It still happens. But end of the day, I basically put up a quote that, the Mets new boss is the same as the old boss. And I put that we will get fooled again. And we did, because I know everybody could say, why am I not surprised, right? But going this long, going through the offseason, knowing that the Wilpons were in charge, and now all of a sudden it breaks down, that's where the Met fan gets angry and says, I was starting to feel good about things. Now I have to go back to hoping the players could overcome dumb management. Like, that's really, where most Met fans' hearts are at. And that's a shame, because you never want to be there. And last thing, let's talk about Pete Rose for a minute. Yeah. What the Astros did and what Pete Rose did are two completely different things. Even if you want to say that cheating is cheating, I will tell you that Pete Rose didn't only bet on his team. Go read the articles. I could post links in the chat room. Well, I can't get in the chat room right now, but I could post links if you DM me, and I could show you an example of all of his bets. And it is up in the air whether he only bet on his team. And also, there's a guy who did exactly what I thought and kept track of pitchers getting pulled early and things like that affect the game. And this is still worse than the Astros. What the Astros did was terrible, but this is still worse. It's still the number one rule in baseball that you can't do. Why can't you do it? Because it ruins the integrity of the game more than even what the Astros did. Yeah. Because if every manager did what Pete Rose did, then it would be highlight. It wouldn't be baseball anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he pitched Mario Soto 125 pitches when normally his limit, and probably in the games that he didn't pit or didn't bet on was 80 to 90 or something.
No, but there were also games he pulled Soto early. Like, there were things that he did that were erratic.
Right.
That even if he was just betting on his team, make you wonder.
All right, let's start the show. Act should be joining us back in a second here. He had to change rooms at the hospital. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2020.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, let's start with some of the games last night. and it was a very busy night in the NHL. I believe it was 13 games. Tonight, by the way, there's only 2, so it's like, you're either overloaded or not loaded enough. I'll start with the game that I was at, which was a 6-1 Colorado Avalanche pace of the Buffalo Sabres. And I have to say, and I said this a couple games ago when they lost the first 2 games of this 9 home game and 10 game stretch between now and the middle of February, that the Sabres were done. They won a game on the weekend in overtime against Columbus. They were out of this game really early, scored their only goal with 0.9 seconds left in the first, and then Colorado opened up a can of whoop ass on them, and it was a 6-1 final. And I'll just say this: the fans in Buffalo. I mean, we talked about that caller that went viral. That was commenting on the state of the Sabres organization in Buffalo. The fans last night after the 4th goal were booing Carter Hutton and giving him the Bronx cheer every time he made a save. They finally pulled him after the 5th goal, put Jonas Johansson in there for his first NHL game. The Sabres are done.
It's over. Yeah, clearly over.
Yeah, but will they admit? I mean, they won't admit that they're done. But I think that now you switch from we're going to see if we can stick in this race and probably not add, but just do whatever, to full scale sell. And they have 7 unrestricted free agents. I don't think anybody in their right mind is taking Zach Bogosian, Russ, because I saw a play last night where Bogosian was behind the net. And I think he was having a fantasy about playing for the Avs because he set up an Avs player right in the slot. That's how bad.
How much more do we need to see?
Yeah.
I don't understand the Sabres. Like, Zach Bogosian's a great guy. So you go over to Zach and you say, hey, Zach, either we're sending you down to the AHL, you're just going to be scratched the rest of the time, and we're going to try and trade you. If we can. And if we can't, we have to put in young players to see what we have for next year. They are just wasting precious time by doing this.
Well, I think we know because, honestly, I talked to somebody yesterday, and I mentioned Bogosian's name, and they said they can't move him. Unless they decide they want to retain salary, which they don't want to be able to move him, they can't move him. He's terrible. It's not just the injury prone aspect. It's because right now he's healthy. He's a $5 million cap hit, and he can't. And they cannot move him unless they either retain 50% or take a salary back. And what are they going to do that for? A 5th round pick? I mean, what's the point? The thing is that the Sabres have 6 other unrestricted free agents, and the question is whether they can move any of those guys and what will they get for them. I mean, you would like to get high picks in the draft, but they don't have the type of players that you're going to get high picks for. But do you operate under the assumption that, okay, getting a bunch of 2nd, 3rds, and 4ths and 5ths is better than getting nothing at all? And we're talking here's the list.
I mean, there's an argument to be made for both, actually.
Yeah, here's the list. Michael Frolik, these are the UFAs. Michael Frolik, Connor Sheary, Jimmy Vesey, Zemgus Girgensons, Johan Larsson, Zach Bogosian. That's your list. Of those 6 UFAs, I think they can move 3 of them pretty easily, and I think they can get a decent draft pick for one of them, Sheary.
Right.
Other than that, you're talking 3rds and 4ths. But again, what's the point? Okay, if you want to re-sign Girgensons, if you want to re-sign Vesey, then find out before the deadline whether they will re-sign.
Right.
Now the thing is also,
that's the thing. I would enter into negotiations with all of them just to see what they want.
Right. Now,
and they may have done that. We don't know.
Right. They may have done that, and they said that may color the direction that they go in. I mean, they may be shopping them in earnest now. Now the question is, do they want to go any further than that? Do they want to shop players that have term left on their contracts? Guys like, Sam Reinhart's a restricted free agent, but he's going to expect to get paid big time next year.
Mm-hmm.
And do they want to pay? Do they want to sign him for 4 or 5 years? Which he's probably going to want. He's 2 years away from being an unrestricted free agent. Do the Sabres want to sign him long-term for the type of money? He's probably going to want a William Nylander type of contract.
Sure, but with him, they could trade him at the draft.
They could. He's arbitration eligible, and he's like I said, I think he's 2 years away from being an unrestricted free agent. So, even if he stays unsigned,
I would wait on him
to
see what else takes shape. But what you said makes sense. But the thing that they're falling in danger of is just accumulating draft picks like a hoarder accumulates stuff in their house.
Right.
And then not having enough at the NHL level and not having enough money to spend to do anything about it. And we're dangerously getting close to that now. Like, even if I trade for a leak, I would rather take a prospect that's a year or two away from the NHL than a draft pick, even if it's a C-level guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is going to have an effect in the summer because one of the few teams that's got tons of money in the summer, in July, will be Buffalo. Buffalo over $20 million in cap space with all these unrestricted free agents. And if they've gone to these guys and say, we want to re-sign you, and they say no, then Russ is right. They have to get players in deals coming back that can be part of the roster next year. Otherwise, they're not calling up Casey Middlestat. So they had 3 guys out with the flu yesterday, 2 or 3, and they called up Rasmus Asplund and not Middlestat, which I would think means that Middlestat is probably staying the rest of the year down in the AHL.
Yeah, let me give you an example how watered down their everyday lineup is. Evan Rodriguez has 6 points on the year. He shouldn't be a regular for them, but he is.
Right. You're right. That's really where they are, right now. And they're, you're starting to see Eichel say things in the media, that's, it was interesting. I was listening to one of the radio shows, and they said, so Eichel starts saying stuff now. And then, before O'Reilly said stuff about Buffalo, he was out of there pretty quickly. Well,
Ristolainen after the game last night, somebody asked him about the game, and he says that was pretty much shit.
Yeah, I do feel bad for these players. You always feel bad for them. I used to ask that question. Right now, what are they going to say?
Because they know that they've watched the playoffs evaporate before their eyes. Like that's it is hard for them to process. I get it.
It is high hopes to start with, very high hopes. And now here they are. It's really tricky. It's really tough for them.
But so now I think that is the only thing to salvage out of the remaining 19 days before the deadline is who can you get for any of those players?
End of the day for this franchise, they've got to do well at the deadline, and they have to seriously look at their player development model because something is failing there.
Yes.
And it's been failing for a couple of years, and it has nothing to do with coaching. And that is, to me, the biggest problem now with the Sabres is getting them from the draft to the team. It's like farm to table. There's something missing there with the Sabres.
Yeah. No, I wanted to get into some of the other things. So we have some other things. I apologize. I should be set now.
That's fine. It's not your fault.
They double booked the room that I was in.
That shirt is your fault, but
the shirt is my fault. Yeah. Okay. This is I appreciate that. Hopefully we don't lose track again. If I get logged out, I'll let you know.
What is this, Jailhouse Rock?
Yeah, thanks. I know. This looks like I'm talking to you from prison too. But anyway, maybe like a picture on the wall or something in this room. But I'm really I'll be
a cell block.
It'll be better. We're still learning how to do this. All right, so I wanted to get into 3 things to start with. Okay, so I wanted to first talk about, last night Mark Giordano is hurt, and that injury is a major play injury because Calgary is a team that does see themselves as having a window. Giordano is incredibly important to that team. He's their best defenseman.
Have we had an update in the extent of the injury yet?
No, but the crazy, and it's one of those injuries they say, today or tomorrow we'll have an update on.
Okay.
Whenever I see that, I kind of get
good.
That's never good because that's what happened with Morgan Riley.
That means they're getting a second opinion and they want to slow it down.
Yeah, and that usually means some kind of CAT scan, MRI type things involved. There's something else that's going on that they have to. You can get those results quickly, but they would like you say, second opinions in
Well,
order.
they get a
Never
first
agree.
look at- I mean, we should explain to the fans, Zach. Most teams get a first look at it right at the arena.
Yeah, they do.
And
they
then-
don't necessarily have MRI machines. But
No. But they have a pretty good idea. They do have some imaging equipment. They do have things there. They have an idea at the arena what's going on just from the team doctor, and then they always want to send it to the next guy, to the next specialist. And so with this one, if they just didn't say, you know what, it's not that big a deal,
right?
It seems like it's going to be something.
It seems like it's going to be a big deal, and the talk is already out there that
Eric Francis posted less than an hour ago that on the ice, one of the Sharks players heard Giordano say it was his hamstring.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it looked like, because it was that kind of injury, it's a weird injury. Like he just, he hits like a divot in the ice or something like that. It's not like
your hamstring like it rolls up on you. That's a long injury.
Yeah,
it's a long injury, and that and I could already tell by the way the Flames names were coming up in rumors today that there is already something up. Like they already have a sense that this is going to be a long time, and in the best case scenario, it's not. But they're already looking around, and I think that you're going to see that. Now they're going to become a player in this Brendan Dillon sweepstakes, for example, and things like that, where they really feel like they have to.
Well, the positive here is you've got 2 months until the playoffs.
You got plenty of time, but you have to make the playoffs if you're Calgary, and that's the issue, right? So
right, because the Pacific Division is so packed.
Yeah.
And if this is a serious injury, you can put Giordano on long-term injury and use his cap space to go get a replacement like a Dillon.
Yeah, and I think Dillon's a good fit for them. He's pretty much
Now they don't need that right now, because they traded Frolik, so they have a little over $4 million in cap space already.
Well, they were trying to do more than this. So this Dillon's like a replacement of Giordano. They were already trying to make another move. So they're going to have to make 2 moves. We'll find out more about that for sure soon.
Just for the Canadians out there, if the season ended today, there'd only be 3 Canadian teams in the playoffs.
I know. It'd all be in Western Canada too, right?
Yep. Toronto's not one of them, folks.
Well, I know, but the Western Canada is rocking right now. As far as the Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver thing right now.
Pierre LeBrun made a good point. He said with the injury to Dougie Hamilton in Carolina, and now the injury to Giordano, if it's a serious injury, that probably takes those 2 teams into the rental market. And they were talking about Toronto. If Toronto was looking for something long-term, a guy who's under contract, it's going to make it more costly for them to make a deal for somebody like a Dumba or a Manson or whoever else is out there, because the prices have gone up, because the demand has gone up.
Yeah, and that's and in Minnesota being, and everyone's like saying Dumba, and I don't buy it. I'm not hearing that moving Dumba. I don't think I don't think that's going to happen. I know people are saying Minnesota is 12th. And they are 12th in the conference, but there's certain players I don't think that Bill Guerin's going to move. I think he's not. I don't think they are going to be panicky. I don't get the sense that the Wild are panicky.
No, they're not. They're not panicky, but it depends. It depends on what they get back. And
if someone blows you away, for sure. But then if you're blowing somebody away, then you're giving up something significant. And the teams that we're talking about are that if you think your last piece is Dumba, you're not trading away something significant, because something significant is part of your other pieces that you're going to need. So
now I haven't watched as much Minnesota games as I should, but from what I hear, Dumba has not played well this year, and he's signed for I think at least 3 more years at $6 million.
Yeah, I get the impression that Boudreau and he have never really quite worked.
Yeah, but Boudreau may not be there next year,
and that's what might stop.
That's a big possibility.
When we talked to Kevin yesterday, he basically said, when I said, Boudreau may be gone, he says, well, you're gonna make the move on the coach before you make the move on a player like Dumba, who's 25 years old, who has a lot of talent.
Yeah, he's got a ton of skill and a ton of defense. He's a defensive skilled guy too, which is
he's physical. Here's the problem, and I brought this up yesterday, but I didn't bring it up to you. If you're a fan, you basically gave away Alex Tuck, you gave away Eric Paula to not take Dumba in the expansion draft. So they didn't take Dumba in the expansion draft.
Yeah, you're right. There was a lot. I mean, they really did.
And so now they're going to end up trading Dumba.
Yeah, I don't see it.
And if you're a fan, you're like, what is my organization doing?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you're looking at different GMs, but
I know,
but still, I just don't see it. I mean, you're looking at 3 different GMs. They've had so many changes there in such a short period of time. 3 GMs basically.
Yeah.
The number situation is 3 GMs old now. So this is like
right.
This is really playing out. And to the point here of teams like needing to make playoffs and the bubble teams making the playoffs, of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs came up today in my calls because of the injury last night to Freddie Anderson
on Monday.
And, it doesn't seem like it's serious, but believe me, it shouldn't take this. Like this is like the discussion we've had so many times. Like how are they accepting? Oh, my phone's stopped.
I have a theory on this, Zach.
Yeah, well, I'll get to it, and I think that are we like it shouldn't take? We shouldn't have gotten to the point now where if Frederick Anderson is potentially injured, that that we like, oh my gosh, if he gets hurt, we're screwed, because they've known that forever. So the idea here is that and now suddenly Georgiev's name is being thrown around with them all the time, and I don't see that happening. But go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. You give me your theory.
This is the thing, and again, this is just a theory. Anderson has had a history of concussions. They passed him through protocol, so they say it's not a concussion, it's a neck injury. And as we know, concussions can be misdiagnosed as neck injury.
I don't.
Before it's happened again. And
if you're a team and you tell other teams that your goalie has a concussion, you're stupid.
Bingo. And I think that's what you're looking at here. It's like, okay, they can plausibly say it's a neck injury, and one of the things is that if it's a concussion, he's out for 7 days minimum, because they have to put him in the concussion, not protocol, but the concussion rest period that they've determined. So by saying neck, they can put him day to day.
If you get hit hard enough that hurts your neck, and you've got concussion histories, you've got a concussion. Let's just throw it out there. Like, you're not just going to be like, wow, my neck saved my concussion from happening. The funny thing is, there's a dispute here on what play he actually got hurt on. About 3 minutes left in the first period, he got brushed by Mark Pysyk, the defenseman who scored a hat trick. And it sort of just bumped into his head. And then the collision with Vetrano happened like a minute afterward. And they're saying the issue was he was stunned by the Pysyk incident and not by the Vetrano.
This goes back to, if you have a concussion in history, something innocuous and then something quickly after that, magnified.
Anything. And it's just a matter of your brain getting jostled around, So it's not like, we're not talking about, it doesn't have to be a direct hit. It can be like a sudden stop. It can be anything.
But this is why this is the worst case scenario for Toronto. It's because Anderson, when it's unsure of how long this is going to be, it could be a couple days, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 2 months. We don't know if it's concussion or neck. If that's the case, they're up against the cap. They can't go out and get a goaltender because they don't have the cap space. They can put him on IR, but
no, they can if they trade a player. I mean, the reality here is,
And the guy that everybody's talking about trading right now is Cody Ceci, because Cody Ceci has been terrible at times for them.
You're not going to save your season
in the wrong spot. I do want to bring this up. On the midday show, Steve Valaket was on, who does radio. And so he said something that I've been bringing up for the last couple of days, brought it up on Twitter. I got attacked on Twitter, of course. But there's still a very good chance the Rangers go through this season with the 3 goalies.
Sure.
The next season with the 3 goalies, because they know it's Lundqvist last year. And let him ride it out into the sunset. And they get a 2-year guy with some NHL experience to be in Hartford, so that could be their guy for Seattle. And then they roll with the two Russian goalies. It is entirely possible, because their price is so high. I don't think the Leafs can pay it.
No, I don't think, if the Rangers want the most value to get for Georgiev, they can make that deal before the deadline, because there's no team out there that's going to give him what he is worth on the market. Now, Steve asks, the Leafs need to lock Freddie up. This is after the season, because he's got another year left at $5 million. So we've all been wary of his play lately. Injury now, he's still the best option at the end of the day. I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's the best option anymore.
Did you watch the All-Star game, guys? I mean, did you watch the All-Star, all the young goalies that were in that day? I mean, we are looking at it like a golden age of goalies right now that's coming through. Young goalies that are really solid. There's plenty of guys out there, and I would lock him up as like a backup. I would put him in there as like say, okay, like,
Well,
to me,
he's never going to be inexpensive enough to be a backup.
well, he could be. No, he could be because I mean, who's going to sign Freddie Anderson? Is let's go about this. Like he doesn't have any success this year, or goes into the playoffs and doesn't succeed again. Who's going to give him a big time deal 2 years from now to be a starter?
All right. Well, if he flops in the playoffs again, I'm on your side for that.
Yeah.
But
if they don't make the playoffs, then there won't be
it's even worse. And I mean, but we're talking about 2 years from now as a starter. Like that, I think that's really unlikely. I mean, with all the goalies that are in the league right now, with all the possibilities that you have out there, you're gonna have other options.
Let's say this: I don't think there's gonna even if he drops off slightly, I don't think he's gonna be a goaltender who's gonna be making $2 million. He's probably gonna be in that $4 million range for 2 or 3 years. He's not a backup; he's a starter. But Dubas has to think long term, and he does that long term. I'm telling you right now, with the goaltending situation in Pittsburgh, if they had to decide between Jari and Matt Murray, they may choose Jari because Jari will be cheaper.
I still think it's unlikely, though.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely. Matt Murray still won 2 Stanley Cups for them. He's still young.
I agree.
But here's the other thing.
I think they'll keep both of them. I think we're looking at an era where the teams are going to
but then
pay more attention to having 2 goalies.
I mean, I'll say this today. Today, I would not sign Frederik Andersen again at all. I'm done with him. Only because I do worry about the concussions, and he hasn't been stopped. He hasn't been an A1 starter enough for me to sign again. So hold on. So I am not going to sign him. The next guy I bring in, I'm signing to a 2-year deal. And I'm going to sign him to be the starter for the first year, and then we'll see what my young goalies in my system can do the second year. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not signing a long-term goalie again because I have goalies in the system. Why am I doing that?
I think their young goalies are at least 3 years away right now because,
well, that's fine. You got this year.
They're good young goalies. Like who are we talking
about? Joseph Wall played for the Team USA in the World Junior in 17 and 18. Ian Scott, who was on Team Canada World Junior, who was CHL goalie of the year. He had an injury, so he's out for the rest of the year. But they have prospects in the organization. The problem is they don't have anybody who can be a number 2.
Well, think about it. Anderson's got 1 more year, and I'm signing a guy for 2 years. So I'm bridging the gap there.
Your number twos in this day and age, NHL should be guys like Freddie Anderson. To be honest, they should be guys. They should be like Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller's like a perfect example of what Miller has done. That to me, if I'm a coach,
but that's what
But the NHL, the model right now is like, say, Washington. They're paying Holtby all the money. They have a young goalie, Samsonov. Then when they have to pay Samsonov the money, Holtby's going someplace else. These teams don't want to pay $9 million in goaltenders.
No.
Holtby's going someplace else if there's someplace else for Holtby to go, though. Remember that there is we are looking at a serious supply-demand problem with goalies in that we're going to have a lot of them.
Yeah, but Bobrovsky, and he got way overpaid.
Yeah,
I know, and I'm not saying we're there yet, but I think that when you look at prospects, there's a lot of good prospect goalies out there right now.
I think there are a lot of teams that are going to be looking.
But as an example, Calgary, if they have a problem again this year, they will go and get one of those goalies.
Now Rittich just played well. I'm telling you right now, Edmonton, San Jose,
Edmonton, definitely,
New Jersey. There's 3 teams. That's right off the top of my head.
I think Koskinen is their goalie in Edmonton. I don't see
Oh my God!
Right?
Not.
I think he is. Why wouldn't he?
He's their goalie right now.
Terrible. He's inconsistent.
He's not terrible, Mike.
Okay, I believe he's terrible.
Have you seen his numbers? I mean, his numbers aren't like. Well, am I wrong, Russ? You're gonna let Russ
look it up.
Tell me he's not terrible. I don't think he's terrible. Okay, Edmonton's not a good defensive team. I think that you're looking at.
Well, one thing about Edmonton and defense, I found this very curious yesterday. Pierre LeBrun reported that after the Cassian deal that Edmonton signed, they're now working on Darnell Nurse on an extension. Yep. Darnell Nurse, according to LeBrun, and I have no reason to doubt him because his sources are always great, that Darnell Nurse wants to stay in Edmonton, but because of their cap situation, they can only sign him, probably would like to sign him to a 2-year deal, which is walking him to unrestricted free agency. I'm telling you right now, Edmonton fans, you sign Darnell Nurse to a 2-year deal, he's gone. He's not staying.
I will tell you this for Koskinen. He at a 913, he's slightly above average for that. He is decent on his GAA. He's not good. shorthanded. He's at 857. So I think he's NHL average, and maybe you can make the argument he's slightly above average. That's what I think he is.
All right.
Terrible.
No, he's not terrible.
I'm just kidding.
He's not terrible. And
I'm
he's
just
young,
kidding. I'm
and
just kidding.
He's not young. He's 31.
all right, he's not young.
Remember, the Islanders drafted him in the
I
second
know. He's
round.
not young. He's not terrible. He is signed. All right, let's.
I mean,
Okay, so the
he's
other
not
thing.
young, he's not terrible. He could be any of us on the show, really.
Well, no. The other day when both Edmonton and the Calgary goalies got thrown out for fighting, I was like, man, I wish I was in the press box right there, and I would go up and say, I can be your other goalie that you need in there. I'm waiting for that moment, Russ. That moment's going to happen. I know it.
You have to get on the list for that, though, ahead of time.
I've tried. I've tried to get on the list, and I don't know who keeps the list because no one lets me anywhere near it. So
You're capable.
Oh, I'm not, Russ. But I think I'm capable of sitting on the bench.
Nobody's going to use. You're capable.
Move on.
Oh, he froze.
Oh, no.
Froze. That's a hell of a moment to freeze on.
I know. Okay, so anonymous hockey blogger, backup NHL goalie. I mean, who's not going to jump all over that story? I'll be on 60 Minutes for crying out loud.
There you go.
I'm all for that. Anyway, we'll see. I took off my shirt for the women out there who didn't like it. Okay, so Darnell Nurse, Mike. Let's talk about Darnell Nurse because I was breaking in and out where you were going about how he hates Edmonton. He does not hate Edmonton.
I did not say. I just said he loves Edmonton.
He loves Edmonton, and there is a good. And what LeBron was saying, or Mackenzie, or anybody who should talk about Darnell Nurse, is the fact that Edmonton's going to have a lot of money 3 years from now.
Right.
In cap, but they don't now, right? So if they do a 2-year deal with him, they can do the 1 year now that he takes a slight discount, and then they can re-sign him during the second year to big money following that.
I don't know.
There's only one problem with that theory. If Darnell Nurse continues to have years that he's had over the last few years in Edmonton, where he's scoring more, he's a physical force, he's a well-rounded defenseman, they will not be able to afford his price.
I don't think so.
I'm going to go
going up, and you're going to have money off the bat. And what is he going to be? He's not going to be a $10 million defenseman.
He could be 7.5 to 8.
He could be
even that. It's probably more like 6 tops.
6, 6.5, 7.
Maybe 7, but 7 3 years. 3 years from now, 7 is not a big deal.
No, but they're not going to get to 3 years from now. There is no way he is going to accept a bridge deal. I'm telling you, he is going to want to get paid. He is their best defenseman.
Right, and that's the problem.
No, you give him,
like X said, the next 2 years they've got money tied up.
Yeah, they're stuck the next 2 years, and if he wants to get paid, or if he wants to stay in Edmonton, where he can be the guy, and Darnell Nurse, from all I've heard, wants to be the guy on defense. Like he wants to be the top power play guy, the guy.
To me, this is the thing. He's a restricted free agent, arbitration eligible this summer. To me, it's either one of two things. He either gets traded or he signs a long-term deal. What's being leaked out here is the bridge deal. No one in their right mind is taking it unless he says, okay, I'll take less, but I'm going to go UFA. And if you're going UFA, you're going to test the market. You're not going to say,
right. If he goes UFA, they've lost him.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I don't care how much he loves Edmonton. John Tavares loves Long Island.
He's going to talk to him
and say, listen, I mean, maybe he is going to get 8. Say they promise him $8 million 3 years from now. All right. And they say, listen, here's the deal. We need you to take 6 for the next 2 years, and we'll give you 8 after that.
And if he blows out his knee, where's that promise going to take him?
Well, of course. But
hold on. That's what his uncle is going to tell him, too, who always bleeded a franchise for money, too.
Donovan McNabb.
He is going to ask him that.
That's not a good sign.
No, but think about it. But
I didn't know the Donovan McNabb connection. You're right about that. Donovan McNabb, lived right behind me for 8 years, and I didn't know it because he had this giant mansion, and there was always this house when we drove through. I was in a townhouse, okay, and when we drove through our neighborhood, coming up Bluebell Penland Drive.
Oh yeah,
big. Well, don't give your location, Eck.
Oh no, I'm not there anymore. So. But there's a big gate. There was a big gate that opened up, right, or next to us, and I thought it was just I thought it was some kind of Area 57 for Merck. We have all the drug people out by us, so I thought it was some kind of where they were making Sudafed.
Well,
And I didn't realize until like I see a special on the news, like they show like Donovan McNabb's house is up for sale, and they're like, and here's an aerial view of it. And I see my backyard from the aerial view of his house.
Russ, I should have known that Donovan McNabb was in the area because as he drove out of his driveway, he threw an interception.
or he found a trail of vomit.
Every time they gave him the wrong sandwich, laughed and laughed and laughed. All right,
look at it. I just looked at something.
Yeah.
Nurse is making 3.2 already. He's not going to accept anything less than like 5 on a bridge deal, and I don't believe he's going to accept a bridge deal because he's their best defenseman.
Well, he is stuck that he has to do something over the next 2 years. Okay, he can't go anywhere.
Hold out. That's what he's
for what? Like he knows, like
Well, he's looking for $8 million. If they don't want to negotiate a long-term contract, he could hold out,
or Russ, he goes to arbitration. And I believe it's up to the player to ask for a 1 year or a 2 year. He goes to arbitration, coming off the last 2 years that he's put up, and he gets probably $4.5 to $5 million on a 2 year deal, and then he holds Edmonton's feet to the fire, and he says, "Okay, I believe I'm one of the best defensemen in this league. Pay me or screw off." That's what he's going to say, and that's what any player should do. They're out for what they can get.
If he ends up in that 35 to 40 point range again, he is not accepting like $4 million a year on a bridge deal.
No, yeah, definitely. All right, someone says in the chat room that McNabb's house was half the size of mine. No. McNabb's guest house was 6 times the size of my townhouse. I'll throw that in there. But anyway, Mike was in that townhouse. That was like,
That's I remember. It was not monster.
You were there too, Russ. I think actually you were in the
townhouse. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't
remember your house.
Yeah, there was no room with all the video games.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's let's get back to Frank Saravelli made an interesting point.
Yes, Mike quoted him yesterday.
Frank Saravelli's been quoted twice on this show in 2 days.
Begrudgingly, trust me.
No, I'm not begrudgingly quoting him. But maybe is this Ryan Miller, Mike?
I said I have to.
What did you quote? What did you say by Saravelli? No, I didn't wreck that rental car. Is that the quote?
I said I have to credit Frank Saravelli because he's the one who reported about the Dustin Byfuglien mutual termination.
Right, but he said he has to. He
wouldn't. Yes, because he's the one who reported it.
No. If it was
you're wrong.
Now, you wouldn't say I have to.
I have all the.
You wouldn't have said it like that.
I have all the respect in the world for our PHWA president.
Oh yeah.
Anyhow. Oh my God. Yeah. So no. I just got that, Mike. Sorry. No. Yeah. No. So Frank has never. I've never. One thing Frank doesn't do is he doesn't take stuff from me or plagiarize from me like until it's months later. So what he said today was that Ryan Miller to the Leafs was something that made sense to him.
Well, okay, no, and I know.
Now let's go back. We can remember that it was back in October.
Yes,
that I first
remember that,
and I put it on here, and we got chastised upside down.
I might stop that.
You did, and let me because I know we're Frank, Ray Ferraro on the Overdrive show on TSN on actually yesterday, I believe, mentioned Ryan Miller clicks all the boxes for the Leafs.
Yeah, it sounds like he's in the Bachelor in Paradise when they say that.
Salary 1.2 million, UFA at the end of the year, a former starter, quality goaltender, everything.
Good photographer.
There's only one problem.
Severe OCD. Continue.
There's only one problem. He's got a modified no trade clause, and he can offer a 6-team trade list. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, he's not including an Eastern team.
No, and this is why I'm gonna
unless it's his last
year. As much as I disagreed on the Mike Babcock thing, Mike, here with this one, because here's the thing about Ryan Miller. I covered him quite a bit in Buffalo and with Team USA.
Yeah.
And yes, Ryan Miller definitely wanted to live in California with his lovely wife, and who wouldn't? But he also has an unbelievable desire to win something. All right, he wants if he has a chance if he sees Toronto as if I go to Toronto, I can help that team win a Stanley Cup, which he can. Like I think he legitimately could go there and be the driving force behind that.
Well,
he will do it. He will do it.
That's where the roads diverge. And I've covered the Leafs for 10 years for Hockey Buzz, and I'm telling you right now, the difference between winning and not winning a Stanley Cup is not Ryan Miller. This team is too flawed.
This is when the producer of the show should put the boxes with Eck next to Mike right now, because there's a battle going on here. I'm not even involved. I'm out of it.
Yeah,
this team.
Get out of the way, Russ.
This
over. I can never do this. Wait, this whole
thing. Hold on, just for a second, Russ. This is
all right. Russ is gone. Thanks.
I'll bring Russ back in a second.
Good thing I'm wearing pants. Continue.
This team currently is too flawed. Now, Ryan Miller, does he help him get into the playoffs? Sure, he does. Because he'll provide quality starts where Michael Hutchinson can't. The problem is that it's going to go back to Freddie Anderson as the starter. Miller is 39 years old. He's not going to displace Anderson as your number one. And defensively, they're still not good enough. So they will not. They may make a trade for a goalie like Miller, but it's not. It'll get them in the playoffs. It's not going to get them the Stanley Cup.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, listen. You first of all, you can't say that. You don't know that.
Well, I'm not Nostradamus.
I know, but we're looking at if you get in the playoffs. I think Toronto has enough offense that they get hot. They have enough power that they could be a factor in the playoffs. Let's not write Toronto off in the playoffs completely.
No, I'm not.
They've got a chance at winning anything.
Anything is possible, but I'm just saying.
No, and it's a much better. I mean, you're just. Oh God, we have to go down this discussion again. If you don't bring a guy like Miller in, who can actually win if you need to, who can actually take you who actually has experience in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then you're just literally throwing your hopes in Anderson and
Mike, hold on. If Mike were covering the Rangers back in the 1920s and Lester Patrick came in off the bench, he would have been like, the series is over. There's no possible way they could win the Stanley Cup with Lester Patrick. He was coaching, and they won the Stanley Cup. So, if they got Ryan Miller,
yeah. Right. I mean, there's two goalies out there, and Miller is having a good season. I even thought that Jonathan Quick doesn't make sense contract-wise.
One example in 75 years. So if Glenn Hanlon jumps off the Capitals bench when he was head coach and steps between the pipes, I mean, come on. I mean,
I don't know. Michael Leonard and Brian Boucher players within 2 games of winning a Stanley Cup.
I think it is possible that if Ryan Miller went to a team and Anderson had an injury, he could win the job and take him on a run. I think that's possible.
I think this is
and there aren't that many goalies out there that could do that. There aren't that you could get that could do that. Miller could, Quick could, but like I said, Quick is not money-wise doesn't make sense, right? But Miller.
I think this is the overall point. Maybe Miller waives his no trade to go to a team that he thinks
there's no question.
That he thinks could win the Stanley Cup. The question is, does he think Toronto can win the Stanley Cup? I don't think
Toronto can. Anybody in their right mind has to think that Toronto could win the Stanley Cup. They are in that realm of the NHL that we live in now. Like that saw the St. Louis Blues win the Stanley Cup last year. And that NHL is you look at certain key points that they have besides the civilian goaltending. Obviously, that Miller helps that part of it.
It's not if that was the only problem, I would be more inclined to agree with you, but that's not on top of the backup goalie.
There's always other problems, Mike. There's always other problems with every team always has other problems. The bottom line is the goalie is something that you can actually control. It's a huge issue to control. It changed everything. Like a good goalie can make the defense better. Confidence can make the forwards better. All this stuff, the goalie can change so much about a team.
No, but with Toronto, it's been a pervasive problem for multiple years. Their defense, team defense, forwards buying in, the blue line sucks. And they have not been able to upgrade, even if they changed people like Muzzin, they've added Barry. Their defense has been flawed for years.
Yeah, there were things. Like I said, I have a friend in St. Louis who last year I got I barely ever text him, but he's not a good friend, I guess. I barely ever text him, but he's still a good guy. We talk to once in a while. I had 2 texts from him last year. One was like, I can't believe my Blues finally won the Stanley Cup. And the one before that was in February telling me, please tell me somebody will take Pietrangelo off our hands. So those are the two texts I got. So that tells you how things can change.
Mike told his friends in his neighborhood when the Islanders got Butch Goring, there was no way he was going to be the difference in winning. He did.
Shut up.
I was
14 years old, Russ.
And that's what you told the kids.
You just never know. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Well, we're too busy playing street hockey. No,
moving on. I'm sure we'll talk about this again.
Oh, I think so.
Okay, Nolan Patrick practicing with the Flyers today.
Right.
I saw some of your like tweets that you were retweeting us online, so I could tell that your opinion is. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I live with someone who has migraines for years.
Yep. Yeah.
I know how unpredictable they can be, and I'm sure they have better doctors than I do, but it's hard. It's hard with the medication. You never know with the light. You never know with activity. You never know with just diet. You never know what's going to cause it, right? A piece of chocolate could cause it. So my thinking was when everybody sees him at practice, all I wanted to say, and I wasn't jumping on anybody because I thought Tony wrote all the right stuff. What I was basically trying to say is he's going to have to practice for 3 or 4 games in a row, practices, just to see if he can handle that, to see what happens with his head. And then maybe they'll send him to the AHL. But I also want to say that it doesn't matter whether it's AHL minutes or NHL minutes because a migraine's a migraine. Playing 20 minutes in either league is not going to matter. It's just it's very disconcerting in a way that they're practicing. Baby steps. And you got to go baby steps.
Baby steps, and I know you got to practice them. You got to do this. You got to get there and there. But in a way, I'd much rather see him practicing with the Phantoms or something. I'd much rather just see him. Maybe they psychologically
pressure would cause it.
Yeah. I think the psychological aspect of this is huge. I mean, Nolan Patrick has to getting Nolan Patrick on the ice is good for him. Like, there's no question about that. You want to, migraines could come back, but you also have to psychologically deal with a guy,
right?
And just even skating in a practice can do wonders.
What the other part of this is, he's still an RFA, but his contract's up, and if they believe there's going to be problems going forward, they may be out on Nolan Patrick, and they might deal him. Like, that's the reality here.
It's almost impossible to do that though right now.
No, it's not. There'll be a team that will want him.
With for a guy who didn't play all year.
Yeah, look, I'll trade you Nolan Patrick, and you give me a conditional 3rd round pick, and basically it goes to a 3rd if he plays X amount of games. It's like a 6.
That's insane. That's insane. The Flyers to do. I mean, the Flyers. There's enough possibility here that he could play again.
It goes up to a 1st if he plays really well.
Right.
If it's a 1st round draft pick, okay, that's one thing. But
but a team is not going to take that risk, because he could play 3 games.
I know, and I think and
never play again.
That's why I think it's the case that you're not going to trade him. The best chance you have is he might be okay. He might be okay. He might be able to do this, and if he can do this, you're in.
It's like the Sabres trading Pat LaFontaine back in the 90s. You didn't know how much you were going to get out of him, so I believe the pick was conditional. And he played for a little bit for the Rangers, but he still had he was not the same player he was before the injury. You have to protect yourself. I mean, if Nolan Patrick is a great player again, then the Flyers deserve to get something in return, like a 1st round pick. Now, he was a 2nd pick overall, so they're still not getting what they thought they were getting, but at least they get something they can move on. But if if he's damaged goods,
there is a chance. I would say there's a small chance they would just walk away from the RFA situation of it and just say, we don't want the risk.
I don't think it's worth the risk. I think what they'll do is they're gonna
not qualify him, Russ.
No, they'll qualify.
I mean, if they can't trade him, there is a chance they would not qualify him because they're close to the cap team. And again, this, even though it's only $925,000 and he is on LTIR, this could still cause cap problems for them because he's going to make more than $925.
Yeah, but you got to qualify him because that's a risk that you can take.
You don't have to. There's been other players that teams have walked away from.
Yeah, but not like 2nd overall picks 4 years in.
You got to forget about where he's picked.
The point is, he still has there's enough high upside with this.
Well, that's why you try and trade him first.
I think you could qualify him and get him to sign a 1-year deal at like $1.5 million, and then if it doesn't work, then you can bury him in the minors
because you qualify him. Insurance pays for if he's hurt anyway, so you can figure that out.
No,
the question I guess is I don't know how that works sometimes. Like the insurance 75%. Thing. What was that?
80%.
It's 75% for when it's insurance. It's never 100. But
but if you're an insurance company, how are you insuring your contract on a player like this? Like that's the thing. Like I don't.
Well, I mean, the premium is going to be high.
Yeah, it's going to be like as much as it is just to pay him, probably.
No, but it'll be high. Here's an example, though, Mike. So you say, well, yeah, they're qualifying for $1.5 million. They have $66,000 cap space today.
Yeah, but that's not for next. That's not for next year.
No.
They couldn't even afford a Hockey Buzz writer.
If he gets activated, they have to make him. They have to drop somebody to the minors.
Sure.
Maybe 2 players if he gets activated.
Send Aubie Kubel down. I mean,
right. Well, that's who will go down, but that's not enough to cover the nut.
Right. I mean, you have to move things around, but I mean, there are players. Send Connor Bunneman down.
Right, but Bunneman makes $736. That you have to send a second player.
Yeah. A couple of things I want to get to before we get out of here too. Go ahead, Mike.
Can I just because it involves Philadelphia. Elliot Friedman just put out his 31 thoughts. Talked about Toffoli. Said that Todd McClellan wanted Toffoli extended. That's not going to happen. He's likely going to be dealt. Boston and Calgary are the ones that have been reported. He also says he thinks Philadelphia would be considering the idea of trading for Toffoli as well.
I mean, it's only going to be Gostisbehere. How else are they going to do it?
Yeah, I heard Mike Hoffman for Shane Gostisbehere today.
There's no way Florida does that.
Well, it was reported that they asked him for the no trade list, and they're considering it because they have so much offense. And
they're going to move him.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now. I just talking to people down there. I mean, that's what they are saying, Mike. You're right. I heard that too, but it's beyond that. I think in terms of the fact that if they could get Gostisbehere, who is signed, this is a risky thing for them. I mean, the Flyers are picking up a UFA here.
Yeah, but Dale Talon has said he wants to acquire a veteran defenseman who can play with Ekblad, meaning somebody who would be a stabilizing force. That's not Gostisbehere.
It's not Gostisbehere, but Gostisbehere gives you the ability to move somebody else in with Ekblad. Like he opens up another spot because he could take another shot for you. I mean, I think that there's, and not the fact. I mean, Gostisbehere is obviously from there, and like we talked about before, that's not like a big deal.
No,
but the reality is there's also other people down there. There's a lot of Flyers impact in the Florida Panthers organization, the people who were here before. Who really liked Gostisbehere. I could see this happening. I really could. I could see them making that move. The question is,
for Toffoli, the only move is Gostisbehere for him because they're almost the identical salaries.
Unless LA retains.
Yeah. Toffoli would be. I think Hoffman's a better fit for the Flyers, but he's a better player.
He's a free agent. I can't trade Shane Gostisbehere with 3 more years for a rental.
That's dumb.
Well, no, you'd have to know flat out, and you'd have to have some kind of condition.
Mike Hoffman is going UFA. He is not going to give the Flyers any extension or anything.
Or you'd have to get, like, if he doesn't sign there, you get like a 2nd-round draft pick or something like that. You'd have to add something to it. So it would end up being Gostisbehere for Hoffman this year and a second, that kind of thing. But I'm not saying that it's possible. I'm not saying that it's probable, I should say. But
I see what you're saying. I mean, that'll be in there in case they were to negotiate. But as an example, Hoffman's been making 5.1. He's been underpaid all these years. Yeah. He's not going to give a team a break like that and say, "Oh yeah, I'll sign with you and not go free agent."
Especially coming off another really good year.
He's not. You're right. I mean, and the Flyers don't have a whole lot of space to work with. So even next year they don't have a ton of space.
If Patrick comes back, they have even less space.
Hoffman, a lot of this would probably hinge on Patrick too. This probably would be tied in with Patrick.
Hoffman is a $6.5 to $7 million winger for 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, and definitely, I don't know where he wants to play. He'll have his choice. I mean, I know the Islanders are interested. There's plenty of teams interested in him as well. Kreider, quick update on Kreider. Top 3 teams right now that I have on him are Pittsburgh, Dallas, and Chicago.
Pittsburgh, they have the cap space. I don't know if they have the assets that the Rangers would want, unless they want to give up a first and Addison or somebody like that. I mean,
yeah, it would have to be something like that.
Yeah, Chicago. I don't see it because they did lose yesterday. So they're still in the race. They're still, I think, 5 points behind the wild card.
Yeah, and they got some games.
Yeah, the cap space wouldn't be a problem because they have $11 million on LTIR, but again, do they want to give up? I mean, Russ, what if you're the Rangers? What do you want from the Blackhawks? You want a first-round pick, which could be high.
Yeah, I'll take their first round because it could be high. And
you're not giving up Boquist. You're not giving up Kirby Dach.
No, I might take Chad Chris. Let me see how he's doing this year.
That's a similar deal to Brendan Lemieux and a first for Kevin Hayes.
Right.
Yeah. Chad Chris.
I think Hoffman is similar. Hoffman's a better player than Kevin Hayes, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Hoffman's getting a first round pick.
Yeah,
they're similar type of players.
Yeah, I may have to get more than Chris. I'll look.
I think Kreider's a better player because he's yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He's more.
The thing I bring up about Kreider is that everybody keeps saying Boston, and Kevin said Boston. He's the whole Boston connection, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people about it, I'm not hearing Boston. I'm hearing everybody saying that it should be Boston. Like that, everyone say, "Oh, Boston makes sense. Boston makes sense." But to the people I trust who actually are involved in these things, are saying yes, Boston makes sense, but Boston has their focus somewhere else. That it's not on Kreider. I don't necessarily understand that. Like I think Kreider would be a great fit for Boston, but
Dallas would make sense again. Because I think they're going for it. That was the whole purpose of signing Pavelski. They need the offense because. In spite of having the best goals against in the NHL, they're down near the bottom in goals scored. But again, they don't have a ton of cap space. Is Jim No going to be willing to give up, a really good prospect and a first round pick? Is he going to give up a Dellandrea or
no? He's not.
Or Jason Robertson, or even somebody on the NHL roster like a Radek Faxa or
I don't think it's a fit there. But for Chicago, I would go either Evan Barrett or Kurashev or Chris. And
Kurashev's got 20 goals already. That's what I mean. They're not going to trade him.
And that first rounder and maybe even another pick. Because he's that guy. The minute you put Kreider on the roster, you've now got a top six guy you can play on the power play who hits people in the corners, who can probably change your game. That's why he's more of an impact guy than Hayes.
If I'm Jeff Gorton and I'm talking trade with Dallas and they want Kreider and they want them to retain salary, the first name out of you're not going to get hints. The first name that's out of my mouth is Guryanov.
Yeah, but now that he's at the NHL level, they're not going to take him.
Right, exactly, and that's the point.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see where he goes. I really have to get going, guys, but please do remember to check in. And guys, do us a favor and go to Hockey Buzz. Go to patreon.com/hockey and support the show if you could. If you've got any value out of this, if you find this is something you look forward to every day, even like $5 a month would be huge for us. So just go to if all of you guys did $5 a month, we would be sitting pretty. So just do whatever you can do, help us out. That would be fantastic. It's patreon.com/hockey. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. And remember, without the buzz, it is just